So Passover is only 3 weeks away, not to scare anybody. 3 weeks from last night, we'll be sitting at our tables, hopefully, God willing, and doing our Passover Seders. And hopefully this year we'll actually be able to invite some guests over. Maybe many of you will feel comfortable inviting guests this year, unlike the last couple of years, to your Passover Seders. And of course, that means that we all need to get ready for that. There's going to be a lot of shopping and a lot of cooking and a lot of menu making and deciding what we're eating and what we're not eating. In fact, you can go to Randall's over on West Belford and H-E-B over here on Beechnut, and they have all their Passover food out. Well, actually, half of it's already gone because people have already been shopping. But we're still deciding what we're going to get. So rather than talk about kosher animals and not kosher animals in the Torah portion, I thought we'd talk about what's kosher and not kosher for Passover. So the rules for Passover basically revolve around one additional requirement, that we're not allowed to have chametz, which is leavened bread, in our homes. And chametz is very clearly defined in the early rabbinic source, the Mishnah, very clearly defined as being made out of one of 5 grains. These are in Hebrew, chita, kusmin, seorah, shibolet, shual, and shifon. Unfortunately, we're not exactly sure in a couple of cases which grains they were referring to, but by almost everybody's consensus today, the 5 grains are wheat, spelt, barley, oats, and rye. Okay, wheat, spelt, barley, oats, and rye. Those 5 grains can become leavened bread or leavened food, and by the same token, those are the only 5 grains that can be made into matzah. The same 5 grains that become leavened can also be made unleavened. So what's the difference between them? 18 minutes. That is to say, when you take the flour from one of those 5 grains and it touches water, you have 18 minutes to knead the dough, to mix it all up, to roll it out flat, and stick it in your oven. If you can get that done in 18 minutes, you have matzah. If it takes longer than 18 minutes, it's chametz. You don't need yeast, because yeast is in the air, so it already starts to ferment once the water touches it. Why 18 minutes? I have no idea, but that's the rule. Now, in addition to not being able to eat chametz on Passover, the Torah specifies that we're not allowed to have it in our possession. It can't be in our homes. So we have to remove it from our houses, and that has led to the age-old custom of searching for chametz the night before, which this year is going to be Thursday night, April 14th, and it's traditionally done with a candle and a feather. The idea of a candle is that you're going through every nook and cranny of your house and checking every little place on your floor to make sure you haven't missed a breadcrumb somewhere. And by pointing a candle's flame, you're focusing your attention on little places all over the house. My suggestion, if you want to do that, use a flashlight. And by the way, you don't need a feather, you can use a dustbuster. I mean, we're living in the 21st century, okay? All right, anyway. So you search the house, you collect all the stuff that might be chametz, you put it all in one place, you make a statement, this is the stuff I found, anything I haven't found doesn't count, and you go to sleep that night. You wake up in the morning, and you destroy everything you don't eat early in the morning, that's chametz. You destroy it, usually by burning it, and then you make another statement that anything you haven't seen in your house should be considered ownerless or as dust of the earth. So by making this statement, you are then saying, I don't have any chametz in my house, and if there is anything, I don't consider it mine, and it's like dirt. If you find something in your house during Passover that you missed, you're supposed to throw it out, because you don't own it, and it's dirt. You don't want to eat dirt, so you throw it away. The other thing that people do before Passover is if you have open foods, you don't want to throw out all the food in your house. So there's something called a sale of chametz. So lawyers here will know that this actually can work. It has some legal basis. We all appoint Rabbi Strauss to be our agent. You can do it online. You sign a form. You say, appoint Rabbi Strauss to be your agent. And right before Passover, he takes the stack of all the names and addresses of everybody who sold their chametz and a contract on top. And he goes to a non-Jewish member of our staff, and he says to them, would you like to buy all of this chametz? It's $1 million. The rule is you give me $1 now, and 8 days from now you pay me the other $999,999. And if by some chance you don't have the money in 8 days, we can nullify the contract and it's over. So they sign the contract, they pay the dollar, and 8 days later, they usually don't have the $999,000, so Rabbi Strauss gives them the dollar back, the contract's nullified, and within an hour or so after Passover is ended, the owners, the chametz reverts to the owners. All right, that's called the Passover Sale. In this way, you don't have any chametz in your house. What you do with that chametz, you put it all in a cabinet in your house and seal it up because it's not yours, and that's how you indicate this isn't mine. Okay, so you're not allowed to own it, you're not allowed to eat it, and you also can't make use of it, and this creates a prime problem for pet food. What do you give your pets? Because you're getting benefit from your pets by giving them chametz. So I suggest giving them just natural foods that don't have any of the 5 grains in it for those 8 days. Some people sell their pets, I don't know, it's a strange thing. Other people ask me, what about cosmetics? What about, I don't know, soap or perfume? What about prescriptions? And I don't understand why everybody's concerned about this. First of all, I'm a very liberal rabbi, as you probably already know. But there is a principle in Jewish law called Ein Re'ui La'achilat Kelev. It is not fit for a dog to eat. None of these things you would feed your pets to eat. That's the problem with pet food. It is something you feed your dogs. So that you have to worry about. But there's other stuff you don't feed your pets. It's not food. So therefore it can't be chametz by definition. So I don't worry about any of those things. But if you want a more strict opinion, ask another rabbi. Finally, we come to this other subject of kitniot, which is a peculiar Ashkenazi custom of not eating other things besides those 5 grains. In the Mishnah, that source from the year 200, it is very clear only those 5 grains are forbidden on Passover. In the Talmud, it mentions that a Rabbi Huna used to eat rice on his Seder plate. He put it on the Seder plate, rice. And his student Rabbi was particular about putting rice on his Seder plate because that's what his teacher taught. And then Rav Ashi, who was the final editor of the Talmud, a great scholar and sage, said, from this we learn that nobody agrees with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, because Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri was the only rabbi in the Talmudic era who said that rice should be added to the 5 grains. The only one in the entire Talmud. Dozens of rabbis, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, the only one who said rice should be added. We usually follow majority rule. We generally follow Rav Ashi, and that was the case for Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazic Jews until the 13th century in France. In 13th century France, they started talking about not eating a bunch of other things they called kitniot, little things that maybe are like the grains somehow. By the way, the first time it's mentioned, it's called a stupid custom. So many things were added to the list. Rice, buckwheat. Buckwheat is, by the way, kasha. So kasha is kitniot. It is not forbidden on Passover if you're Sephardic. And if you make it with kosher for Passover noodles, you can have kasha and varnishkis. Okay, so rice, buckwheat, millet, beans, lentils, peas, sesame seeds, mustard seeds, which is why you can't get decent mustard on Passover because it's not even made with mustard. Corn, green beans, snow peas, chickpeas, can't get hummus, soybeans, sunflower seeds, poppy seeds, and even peanuts. Although when peanuts were first discussed, even by Ashkenazic rabbis, it was considered not even kitniot, which is very good for me. First of all, when I was growing up, and maybe when some of you were growing up, you used to be able to get Planters peanut oil that was certified kosher for Passover, OUP, right? The Orthodox rabbis, Ashkenazic rabbis said kosher for Passover. Can't find it anymore because they decided peanuts are forbidden. When I was a kid, I couldn't live through Passover without peanut butter and jelly on my matzah. I still can't live without peanut butter and jelly on my matzah. Our movement still holds that peanuts aren't even kitniot, so I don't have a problem with that. Anyway, all these rules about kitniot make things very complicated because now you have to go through the ingredients of all these different products and decide what's got kitniot in it, because as kitniot, it's not kosher for Passover. However, our movement in Israel decided many years ago that Ashkenazic Jews could abandon this custom of not eating kitniot on Passover for a variety of reasons. And more recently, our movement in the United States agreed with that decision. And therefore, all of you, if you'd like to, you can eat. I see everyone's shaking their head already. If you are invited to eat kitniot on Passover, and it will save you a lot of money and a lot of grief on Passover. However, the opinion is only permissive. It doesn't require you to eat kitniot on Passover. So, if you want to maintain the tradition of your ancestors, which is a worthy thing to do, that's fine. Don't eat kitniot on Passover. But for those who find it difficult to maintain this restriction, you are welcome to abandon it. Now, our movement has some very restrictive conditions on eating kitniot on Passover, which are posted on our website, will be posted on our website when we post the Passover guide. However, I recommend a more lenient, naturally I'm a liberal rabbi, I recommend a more liberal opinion about eating kitniot from a Sephardic rabbi, Rabbi Abadi, whose website is much more lenient about what's edible on Passover for kitniot, and it can be found at www.kashrut.org. So I recommend you look there if you want to eat kitniot, and it'll make it very easy for you to keep Passover in a kosher way. He's an Orthodox rabbi, although he's Sephardic, and our movement says we can follow the Sephardic opinion. So that is all to say that I wish everybody here a happy, healthy, and kosher Passover.